Hi, this is Mike Boo from HIPAA Watchdog. This is a short little video about shredders, shredding paper documents. If you're watching this video, well, chances are you can pretty much just listen to it, and I'll give you just basically all the information you need via audio. So the video portion is just showing a document that you can easily find yourself. This document is from Office Depot, and you can probably find it just by Googling Office Depot shredder documents, and we talk about different levels of security that you might want to consider for your office in terms of shredding documents for PHI documents. So what I usually see is, when I go on site and do a physical inspection at a, let's say, private practice versus community health center. Private practices, they typically have their own shredder on site, and that's what they use if they have any. Unfortunately, in some places I find that their shredders are actually of security level 1 or security level 2. And you can see from the document on the screen right now, these are the general recommended guidelines from Office Depot, right? Level 1 is general shred destruction. It cuts just a big strip. Imagine if you take a set of scissors and a pair of scissors and just cut down the strip by strip on a piece of paper. That's pretty much the level of destruction we're talking about here. Level 2 is you have either a cross cut or diamond cut type of cut, so it's kind of crisscrossing cutting, so that's better. This is what they recommend for sensitive internal company documents, for instance. Level 3 is where they have a cross cut that's even smaller, so 1/16 of an inch by 1.9 millimeter. This is typically what you find when you go to a general office supply store. They usually don't get much higher than level 3. Level 3 is not bad, right? It's better than level 2 and level 1. So this is generally what we see. I do recommend considering level 4 and above higher for PHI documents in general, because the price difference is not terribly a whole lot more and you get a lot more security. So you can see the different levels of the cross-cutting. Basically, you got smaller and smaller sizes of paper when it comes through here. And, I'd be happy to send you some links to some recommendations of some shredders that I've seen in a reasonable price range. And so they level 4, level 5, level 6. I've yet to see a facility have level 7 or level 8 and above. And, well, that's because they can be quite costly. So at this level, you're looking at really, really, really small sizes, kind of like confetti at level 6 and level 7. Notice that Office Depot does not sell level 7 or level 8 and above. They only go basically at any given day when you go into an Office Depot, you will find up to level 3. Some places will have level 4, but you might have to special order it. And 5 or 6, they probably don't have most of the time. And they're not designed for commercial uses as well. So the problem that I see in a lot of places is they either have some shredders and they are not used that often because, one, they're slow, they don't handle a lot of documents at one time, so they remain unused, and they get put in these bins. And every once in a while, these bins get emptied somewhere, and sometimes people don't know where they get emptied to. Whether they take them to shred elsewhere or they pay someone to pick them up, it's unclear. And if you don't have an answer to this, the chances are that it is going to be a high risk rating in the terms of the workflow that you do. One of the most egregious things that I've seen at a community health center is that there were maybe these shred bins that are basically trash bins that have a secured basic padlock on top and a little slit for you to throw in documents. And those bins are located in a particular part of the facility. So because the part of the facility is really far away or not in the same building, the department decided to take it upon themselves to put it and keep in medical records in these storage boxes. Now, these storage boxes are not actually secured because they're just cardboard boxes, and they're behind a room that does have a lock on it, but the lock was not working, or they chose not to use the lock at all because they didn't have the key to get back into the room. Now, you can imagine my shock and surprise that the whole room was full of medical records, and actually patients walked through that entire area So they really have no idea whatsoever if any documents gone missing. Nobody actually really knows exactly what's in those boxes, other than that they were either there for filing or there to be shredded eventually. Now, in some other places, they would say, well, once a month or every quarter, they would do a clean out. And clearly at this place, what I saw was that they were not clearing it out, and it's been there at least 6 months, according to some people, due to either reconstruction or moving offices around, and it just got left there. That could be a huge HIPAA security breach right there. Now, on the screen right now, you'll see a company that actually sells level 7 and above, level 7, level 8 and above. Now, you really don't need to go up to this level, but every level that you go up reduces the possible risk of the documents getting breached or the confidential information getting out there. So if you can't afford it, consider it. I would consider getting a service plan for some of these, especially if they're not made for the commercial environment. But it's better to have these within easy reach of everybody in the office. If you're in a small office, it's kind of a no-brainer. Buy a couple of these. You're much better off. Put them by copy machines. Put them by the fax machines. Put them by the office, by wherever there's a workstation with a printer. Wherever you can receive printer and paper and you don't need it anymore, easily just throw it in there. Don't put it in a separate bin. The biggest violations and possible breaches I usually have to tell people that you should write it for in the future is these secret bins that people put these documents that are waiting to be shred. It's either to shred or to dispose of. And they keep them there. And they do not empty them every day. Some people claim that they're emptied a couple times a day. But, when I do those surprise inspections at the client's request, I check them out and I find that they're not being emptied and that they've been there over the weekend. And how do I know? Well, in some of these documents that were faxes that had come in, they had the dates in there. And, some of them had dated back to a week or more. So, what they say about what's being done is not necessarily being done. So you, as the security privacy officer or HIPAA compliance person for your organization, you should be checking around to see and making sure people are following through with the proper policy and procedure that is recommended or that you have established for your covered entity and associates, right? The other thing I see are larger organizations that are community health organizations. They hire a company that puts them in these sort of bins that are also locked as well. And they have to call them in to go pick them up. Or they are scheduled to pick them up on a weekly, monthly basis, depending on a volume. Now, what I see at some places is that in an effort to be cheap or not knowing exactly how much paper is going to be shredded, we find that some of these bins are simply overflowing. And what happens when it overflows and you throw in more documents? Well, the documents stick out, right? You can just reach your hand in there and grab documents. No one would know, really, in most of these places, because there's no security cameras over the secured bins. There's a lot of movement. Patients come in and out. You got janitorial services coming in and out. And, most staff, I think, that are there, maybe part-time or per diem, they don't know who actually comes in to physically pick up these bins to shred or put in a truck, or they don't know the janitorial service because maybe it's managed by the building. So any of those people could have passed by any of these bins and taken out papers from these supposedly secured bins, right? So you have that to contend with. Something that you want to monitor all the time is how people are using these bins and making sure that they're being used properly and making sure that you have the proper BAA agreements signed with the company that is destroying these documents for you. It would be great if you make sure that they keep records of the full destruction and provide them. And also to make sure that they also do their own security risk analysis to make sure that on their end, what they say or they think or promise is being done is actually being done, right? And that they're doing the proper background checks on all the employees that they're checking, because this stuff is really valuable. more and more people are going to catch on, more and more hackers, more and more thieves are going to catch on that these medical records are more valuable than trying to steal someone's identity and their credit card number. By some estimates, of course, when I mentioned in the last video, they're about 40 times more, right? And just also so you know, the NSA, okay, so it says here, right here, that it says it's an NSA approved paper shredder. Sure, of a certain level. Keep in mind, for their top secret documents, they also do stuff on top of all this for the super secure documents that they might still have in paper form, including also mashing it up into a pulp, putting in a bunch of chemicals to actually destroy the chemicals and the inks and the toners on the paper before completely destroying it and burning it up. Right? So there's actually more to it in terms of security for things that are even higher value. But what I usually say is you treat each of these records like you do money. Imagine each sheet of this paper is $20 on average, $60 for some, depending on what kind of reports are on there. And you figure, well, what kind of things do you need to do to secure that? And see if that's doing enough. If you don't have a shredder, get some shredders. Get as many shredders as you can. Try to do at least security level 3, or the highest security that you can find from your local Office Depot. Level 7, I'd say you probably don't need that. These are going to cost a lot of money. I'm not sure exactly how much it is, but it is definitely going to cost way more than most private practices are willing to pay for. And if you're going to do the pickup service, ask them what kind of shredding level they do, what kind of security level they do, and where do they dispose of them, and see if they can give you certificates to prove that they've been destroying all the documents that have been coming in through the bins. All right. And if it were me up to it, I'd actually go visit the facilities where they do this shredding, just to make sure that they're doing it at such a level that I'd be comfortable with them getting rid of these secret documents that could destroy someone's life if it got out there, or could be used for medical malpractice, or just stealing someone's identity. Important stuff. Okay, don't overlook this. Your paper, if you have paper everywhere, you need to make sure that it's properly destroyed. Okay, all right, thanks for watching this video. I hope this was helpful, and please make sure that it's easy for your staff and anybody who touches paper with PHI to easily be able to find a shredder or properly destroy and secure these documents where appropriate. All right, I'll catch you in the next video.